And welcome back to another episode. I got Toby here with me, and what we're going to be talking about today is basically our mistakes that we made in our journey of nutrition fitness. I know for a fact I've made a lot
I was
of
about to
them.
say, let's see if we have enough time.
Yeah, I don't think we do, but we'll go through. I mean, I don't think we're going to do an order of importance. This is really just unscripted behind the scenes of like what we went through, just seeing what comes off the top of our head. I don't think we'll go through everything, but we'll go through a lot of the mistakes that we made. And our hope is by sharing our mistakes, you guys can learn from our mistakes and not go through what we went through our own journey. And also just realize that like we're human too. We've made all the mistakes and then some. You're not alone. And I know that a lot of times I'm talking to some clients who are like, I should be doing this or should be doing that. And I feel guilty because I'm going through this. And I'm like, why? Like, this is just the human experience. You're supposed to have ups and downs. It's neither good or bad. It just is. It's your journey. And like you're on it and it is what it is. And sometimes hearing somebody else go through something similar as you allows you to take a step back and look at the grander scheme of things and be like, hey, like I'm not alone. It's okay to go through what I'm going through, and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two from our experiences. We'll give you what we wish we did instead to hopefully avoid those, so that way you can learn from it. But before we dive into it, let's do a little house cleaning. Okay, we got some announcements for you guys. First announcement is that we are actually going to be putting a wait list on one-on-one coaching. If you're listening this week, this is what is it? May 28th, 2024. Okay. So if you're binge watching our previous episodes and you're like 2025, this doesn't apply. But as of May 28th, 2024, we're going to have a wait list for one-on-one clients. On the website, I'm working super hard to create a wait list sign up. And so you just answer some questions for us to get to know you. And then as soon as a spot opens up, we'll text or email you and jump on a quick call just to make sure that this is a good fit. And then you hit the ground running if it is, when a spot is available. But it's first come, first serve. So if you're looking to join a spot, I think, Toby, what do you think? At least 4 weeks? I think more. I like, we can't really put a thumb on like a true date on when we're going to be taking on spots, but what is your best guess?
It all depends on when clients are graduating,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
It's if there is 3 jumping off, I have room to take on 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
But if everybody, hi baby, but if everybody who's on it currently is extending or all those kind of things, then that's just dibs, you know?
Dibs. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like Toby and I also have some projects that we want to be making as well. So we've hit our capacity on one-on-one clients. But some other tidbits that we wanted to update you guys on is the second thing is that we are now HSA and FSH card approved. We partnered with a company called Tuemed. And so this allows you to fill out a quick application form, like 2 minutes. Like it doesn't take much time at all. And then it'll let you know if you are approved or not to be covered by your HSA or FSH. And so it's a quick 2-minute form. If you are approved, it's a minimal payment, I think, of $30, I believe. And then you get a note sent to you. It's good for about a year. And if anybody reaches out as to why you used your card on any of our services, you have that to prove that. So that way you can save some money on there. Another housekeeping announcement is that we also created a partnership with another company called Pay Then. And so what this does is allows to make much more affordable payment plans for our clients. So one-on-one coaching, you get a lot with it. And so the pricing is a little bit higher just because of the quality of service and how much contact you have with us. And I know that there's a lot of people that are in need of one-on-one coaching. They need that assistance, but maybe we need a little bit more of a payment plan. So we partner with Pay Then, and it's different than the payment plans that we've had in the past because we've partnered with like Affirm, which is like the #1 pay over time app. But what that does require is for you to go through, like, get your credit score, like, look through. You have to get approved, and also interest rates nowadays are just like, it's stupid. Like, it's not even worth it. Like, I think before when we first started using Affirm, A lot of times people qualified for no interest rate. It was super simple, and you could break it up as long as you wanted to. I think up to 24 months. It made it super, super affordable for people to get the coaching that they needed. But nowadays, interest is crazy. So if you by chance want to get after one-on-one coaching, join the wait list. We have that payment plan. We have anywhere from like 12 to 18 months on like 6 to 12 month contract. But we're human being. If you want to wiggle, like if you want to talk to us a little bit more and see if we can make a payment plan that works your budget, like of course we're going to make that happen. I mean, the big picture is that we're here to help you guys. So we're definitely able to have that conversation with you guys. So that's also going to be happening. Toby, do we want to make the big announcements of the other two things, or do we want to put it on hold? Do we want to leave them on a cliffhanger?
Ooh, it's like a drum roll time, right?
I know.
Surprise. We're keeping you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, we're keeping you on a cliffhanger. Yeah, look, let's keep you on a cliffhanger. Sorry, guys. We will announce this later on. I think the big thing is we just need to accumulate a little bit more information, get a little bit more organized. But we do have two bigger things that are coming up soon that we're really, really excited about.
Yes.
One of them is going to affect all of our clients. And it's just going to really help us take it to the next level. And then the next one is going to be something that we've wanted to do a long period of time. Like we have so many different projects that we've wanted to do for years, and we're finally in a position to start making them happen. But they take time to get that going. So we're trickling them in one at a time. This next one should be coming up fairly shortly, but we're really excited to announce that to you guys as soon as we can. So we'll keep you in the loop. Do a podcast episode on it too, to update you guys on it, so you can learn more and stay up to date on what we're doing. But did I miss anything, Toby?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Well, enough with house cleaning updates. Let's get into how we screwed up. All the ways that we screwed up. Toby, who do you want to go first? You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Ooh.
We'll just go back and forth.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that we did wrong or it's not necessarily doing things wrong, right? But where we could have done things better. Mm-hmm. For sure, I did some things where I was like, shouldn't have done that, right? I'll go first, and I don't really know off the top of my head, like to put this in order, but not having the right nutrition. I've had pretty supportive parents, like really supportive parents. Even after they got divorced, I essentially had what I found at that time from doing my own Google and my own research to be the meal plan. It was a PDF of P90X, and I had printed it off, I laminated it, and I used that for the intent of performance fuel, right? So during that time, I was running track on a national level. I was playing professional football. I was preparing to go play at the college level, European professional, into the American college level. I was being a full-time student. I was doing all of these things. I was strength training with the goal to add muscle mass, and I was eating on the P90X meal plan. Hey, listen, it all felt legit, you know. I didn't know any better.
So was it like a meal plan that was just geared to make you lose weight, and you were trying to be like extremely athletic in a lot of sports? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So it's whenever I would pull up to a game, I would just feel like, ugh, my legs feel so heavy. I feel I have no energy. Waking up in the morning is super hard. I would sometimes come home from school and just lay in bed and fall asleep. Like I would have zero energy, and then I get waken up by my dad, and it's like, hey, time to go to practice. It's like, cool, we go to practice, we just go through the motion there, come home, eat some food, and go back to sleep.
Exactly.
It was not great. I mean, don't get me wrong, the quality of my food was amazing, but
It's not
It,
just the quality, it's the amount, especially if you're a very active person or
oh,
if you're a young kid who's trying to be athletic, like how much you're eating is just as
I
important. Are you
mean,
fueling yourself enough? Yeah. I think that's a common mistake that a lot of people make because there's not a lot of information out there on performance nutrition, or
no.
it scares people
I
because all
mean,
we've heard since from a very young age is like, you just need to eat less and move more. And that's the
yeah,
magical answer to everything that you want to achieve. And it's like,
right.
hmm.
So, yes, not fueling my body with the right nutrients,
Mhm.
for sure, made reaching the goals that I had more complicated.
In everyday life felt like crap.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I would have known what I know now, or if I would have had someone in the corner that told me,
Hmm.
um, it would have been much easier.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was an athlete my whole life from the age of
Mm-hmm.
like 9 until I played Division 1 college
Mm-hmm.
softball, and then shortly after that, I got into CrossFit, and then I got into competitive weightlifting, and competed internationally and nationally every year. Or no, nationally every year, internationally once. That's my one claim to fame. It was like a small international. It wasn't. It's really in the weightlifting world. It's really not that big of a deal. But when I say that, people are like, "What?" I'm like,
Like
"It's
define
honestly."
international, like Canada.
No, Barbados. I got
Oh,
to go to Barbados. It was a lot of fun. Anyways, I was an athlete my whole life, and again, all I was taught was like you need to eat less and move more. And I learned from my mom, and it was a lot of Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig, and nobody ever taught me how to eat enough. Nobody taught me anything about that, especially as a young kid. And then when I got into college, I had like a strength and conditioning coach that actually went into like how many calories I was supposed to be eating.
mm-hmm.
And I threw a hissy fit. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, there's no fucking way I'm ever going to be eating that many calories. I'd get so fat, all that stuff. But little did you know, me binge drinking on the weekends and eating all this food that I didn't know anything about was already eating more than what I needed to already. But
Big time post game parties. We
oh,
drank
yeah.
a lot.
Oh, we drink. Oh my gosh. I always think that if I was younger and I had somebody to actually teach me about food, right? Or maybe my mom had a better relationship with food or things like that, or my dad too. Like if I learned a little bit more about nutrition when I was younger, how much farther I would have gotten with not only sports, but I think a lot of things like like my poor relationship with food. For those of you that are listening and you don't know my background, I struggled with an eating disorder majority of my life since the age of 12 is when I started, and I think 24 is when I ended. I haven't had any episodes since. Woo woo. Um, but my whole life was geared around that. And I went through periods of time of barely eating anything. And then also on the other spectrum of just like emotionally eating. And when I got to a certain age, drinking as well. And I always think about like how much farther in life I would have gotten in terms of athletics and also academics if I knew how to just properly fuel my body and had a better relationship with my body. I probably would have gotten better grades because it affected everything. Like my ability to concentrate, my ADHD. We know this. Like how you treat your body and the food that you put in your body as well directly affects your mental capacity. And if you have ADHD, whoo, is one of the best things to invest in. It's like night and day difference. Like when I'm not taking care of myself, when I'm not sleeping, if I eat like a little bit of like a trash panda, like I can feel it. And it was like almost physically painful for me to sit in classes. Like I just couldn't do it. So like my grades were crap. Um, I just wonder like what it would have been like how much farther I would have gotten in college, things like that. I'm like, I'm not mad about it. I mean, I'm here. I like what I do. I want to be the person who I am right now, helping the people that I am right now. But it just makes you wonder a little bit. But um, okay, I got one. This is a little bit of a bigger one. Yeah. So like my background, a lot of like extreme yo-yo dieting, really trying to hate my body into the like the life that I wanted essentially. And we were talking about this the other day, um, Toby, where we were talking about how um, if we want to create a better relationship with ourselves, if we want to create more confidence, a lot of times people have the misconception that I need to change my body in order to create that outcome. Like if I lose the weight, if I'm more fitter, I'll be happier, I'll be a better person, I'll be more disciplined, I'll all that stuff. But when you're trying to make these changes through hate, okay, it's very, very emotional. And it's also out of a place of self-hate too. Like you're just like, I remember when I was younger, I was like, I remember squeezing my belly fat and my legs in front of my dad and crying, calling myself like fat because people nicknamed me bacon when I was little. Middle school kids are assholes. And so I was just like, I was literally grabbing every single quick fix I could, every single extreme tactic that I could. I was thinking it very emotionally. And because of that, I became the extreme yo yo dieter.
Hmm.
I did these extreme tactics that I would see results really, really fast, but then I felt like crap and it wasn't sustainable. So I stopped that and I gained a bunch of weight. And then I started emotionally eating and eating more because I felt like I failed. So I gained a ton of weight. And then I go through that process quite a few times. I'd be picking things that have an end date on it. And when you have an end date, like we know this, once the end date hits, you go back to who you were and what you were doing before. And that wasn't working. So I was just in this never ending cycle. And I didn't realize until a couple of years ago, honestly. I've always been struggling with this in some type of fashion. If you struggle with an eating disorder and body dysmorphia before, you know this. It never really truly goes away. You just get better at handling it and not letting it ruin your day or derail your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until about a couple years ago that I realized that for me to actually truly find that happiness that I was looking for, being confident in my body, being happy with who I am, I didn't need to change my body. I needed to change who I was, my identity, and let my body, the way that it looked, be a happy side effect. A lot of times we're struggling with this stuff. It's not because we don't have the perfect fitness program or meal plan or things like that. It is, we have character issues. I had extreme character issues. I didn't know how to cope with anxiety. Like I would eat that or I'd eat food or drink alcohol to avoid my emotions. I had very little emotion regulation. I had to learn
Yes.
how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was very much of an emotional thinker when it came to nutrition and fitness, rather than just using my brain, using logic, asking questions, and making very educated decisions. I had very low self worth. Like, not only was I not treating my body well and didn't believe that I was capable of creating these changes or that I was worthy of that, which is the definition of a fixed mindset, but like I tolerated people treating me like crap. I tolerated people only wanting to hang out with me because I was drinking, which fueled me wanting to drink more. Like it was just, there was a lot of character issues that I had to solve, that I had to face. And it wasn't until I stopped trying to change my body or go after another quick fix, thinking that that's going to be the fix of everything that I was going through. And I changed to, I need to make myself better. I need to learn how to treat my body well. I need to learn what works best for my body and my needs and stop paying attention to what other people are doing. I need to start learning more about emotional regulation. I need to have a better mindset towards things. I need to surround myself with better people. I need to have higher standards for myself. I need to believe in myself again. All these different things. It wasn't until I started fixing that I was actually able to not only see the changes with my body, but be really fucking happy and know that I could do this for the rest of my life. I know that there's a lot of people struggling with that, but that right there probably sums up like the big overarching umbrella of all the little tiny mistakes that I made and my whole journey. But that was the big one. It's just like I didn't need to change my body. I needed to change my identity. And then the way that my body looked is just a cherry on top. I'm 10 times happier because of it too, because of that shift in perspective as well. So
I think that ties, well, to begin with, there's a lot of, if we were to just sift everything out that was in there, right? Where it's like if we had to name mistakes that we made, right? It's like it was setting unrealistic goals. It's not listening to our body. It's relying too much on peer pressure and giving other people or circumstances way too much power, right? But um, it goes, I think, not necessarily just changing your character, but also knowing what that character has to be.
yes.
Because a lot of people have this idea in mind of what it is that they want, and what they have to do to get it, and who they have to become to see that goal through. But now they're trying to do all of these things that are consistent with that goal, with that persona, despite hating what it is that they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So I'm very ambitious, and probably one of my biggest ADHD traits is time blindness. Like that's why I'm always wearing a watch,
Mm-hmm.
and the new Apple Watch has a button that you can program to be your favorite app. When you press it, it just starts your favorite app. And mine's the stopwatch so that I can track how much time I'm spending on something. And I have to put into my calendar, like I have an app that tracks all the things even the littlest things that I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll vibrate 10 minutes before that thing is scheduled, because otherwise I will just
1,000%.
zone
I
out.
deal with that
Right.
too.
And I want to be able to one day be able to do an Ironman, right? I want to look a certain way. I want to perform a certain way. I want to be able to lift a certain kind of weight. I want to do all of these things, but the more you do, the longer it will take for you to get there, right? And setting a goal that would be realistic if you were to only do one thing
Mm-hmm.
is so detrimental, just because I've set now an unrealistic goal, right? Because I set myself the goal to achieve the same marathon prep results that a person gets if they only do marathon prep.
Mm-hmm.
I set myself the same bodybuilding goals or physique aesthetic goals as a person that only does physique based training. I set myself the same weightlifting goals in terms of performance or progress as a person who only does weightlifting. Yet I do all of those things at the same time,
Yep.
right? So not realizing that it takes a long time to preparing for a marathon is, in my opinion, at least a 6-month approach for somebody who's not conditioned to run long distance. And if I'm pairing that with wanting to look a certain way at the same time, it now may take 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm pairing that with wanting to also have some Olympic weightlifting days. Now that may take 12 months, right? But setting that unrealistic goal that is consistent with a character trait that isn't in line with what my actual goals are, with what actually makes me happy, is probably one of the reasons why I fell into some of the dark holes that I did fall in,
Yeah.
right? It's setting goals that are too ambitious, not trusting consistency, right? It's because if I manipulate the things that I do, it gives me a sense of it gives me a sense of productivity,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I'm following this program and I haven't seen results in 8 weeks, so it must be the fault of the program. And it's like, I don't care what program you do, if you're consistently tracking your progress and it's a program that supports your goal. How many different bodybuilding programs are out on the internet?
Oh, it's countless.
Like
Jeez.
tens of thousands,
Yeah.
right? And if you just pick any one of them and you them consistently tracking your progress and making sure that your volume gets more over time, you pick each and any one of them, and over the course of 3 years they will get your results.
Oh yeah.
How many
100%.
marathon prep programs are out there that are free? It's you'll follow them consistently and you do nothing else but that, you will get results,
Yeah.
right? But it's having that unrealistic expectation that I should have something at a certain point is what hurts so many people. I think you touched on timeline or on that like
Yeah.
briefly, but I did that, right? Like my strength training in high school was not a performance conducive training program. It
Mm-hmm.
was to look a certain way.
Yeah.
right? Because we thought when we watch people on the internet, and it's like, oh my God, it's like those athletes look phenomenal. So they must be doing bodybuilding, right? And it's like, oh my God, those athletes perform phenomenal. They must be doing this speed program,
Mm-hmm.
right? They must be doing all of those. And then promotional deals like affiliate links became a thing, right? So now you have all of these athletes promoting all of these different products that they get paid to promote, right? But then they say, oh, when I took this greens powder, it's like my performance went from this to that. And it's like, oh, like as a 15-year-old kid, you think now I have to buy all of these things,
Yeah.
right? And then you have a supplement container that looks like a pharmacy, and you eat like P90X, and you do all of these different things that are not in line with each other's goals.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why you spin your wheels, right?
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons, like one of the main reasons why you have a coach is because of that. It's because one, the consistency part, like you talked about before, is like if you are just consistent enough, you will see the results. But people have these expectations that if I do a little bit of work for a short period of time, I'm going to see all these great freaking results. But when in reality, it takes time. Like you need to respect the process. But people are just so uneducated about what it looks like. All the things that they've seen online, it's like, of course, what really does work, it takes longer than what's going to sell. Like people are always going to share the quick fixes. Like this person lost 30 pounds in 12 weeks. That's fantastic. But it doesn't show if they're able to keep it or if they actually got the results that they're looking for or if their life was miserable
Or
or,
it's what did they have to
yeah.
do to get it?
Yeah, exactly. All right. And what is the likelihood of them keeping it? So it's like getting a coach allows you to have that accountability to actually see the results that you're looking for, but they'll actually teach you what are realistic expectations. If you get a coach that is actually there for you to get lifelong change, like make informed decisions on who you're hiring as a coach. If somebody's like, let's get these dramatic results in a very short period of time, they're probably just dropping your calories low enough that a monkey could do it, that you lose weight. And then they're probably banking that in a couple weeks or a couple months from now, you're going to gain it back and then some. And so you're going to come back to them. Like it's just a vicious cycle. It's only to get quick results, but not for you to keep it. So yeah, like I made that same mistake too of like just unrealistic expectations of what success actually looks like for long-term sustainability, keeping it off. Again, I was just like I said before, I was just so emotional that I wanted things to change right away. So I would just grab anything that would make something change.
Mm-hmm.
And then inevitably it made me gain the weight back or even
Yes.
worse. And then like
Right.
my relationship, when we do that, our relationship with ourselves gets worse because we feel like we're failing, we're breaking another
Absolutely.
promise. It's just a cycle. It sucks.
Right.
Right.
It's, oh, I need to gain X amount of pounds of muscle. So what do we choose? Weight gainer. Right.
Rah.
It's like I need to lose X amount of pounds of fat. So what do we take? Like fat burner.
Yeah.
Right. It's you fall victim to advertisement because there's a whole psychology out there
Mhm.
on what to put in the advertisement, which colors to use, what time of day
Mhm.
should you air it to get maximum amount of buy-in,
Yeah.
right? So then we fall victim to that,
Mhm.
and we spend tons of money, we spend lots of time, and eventually we blame ourselves, right? It's because I am not worthy enough of this. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I'm
you,
just gonna be this person. And
mm-hmm,
it's like, dude, you're just grabbing at all the wrong things. You're just not doing what works best for you. Um, okay. Here's another big mistake that I made. um, Going back to what we've learned since a very young age of like, it's just as simple as eating less and moving more. Like that whole mindset made me think of dieting as a lifestyle. Like I was chronically dieting.
mm-hmm,
Either I was trying to basically eat very minimally or steal my mom's Jenny Craig and eat what she was eating or something like that, or doing an extreme template. We're not going to name names, but there's a very popular template that a lot of people in the weightlifting CrossFit world have used or are using, and I use that. And I was just chronically dieting, or I was on the other X spectrum because I was like always under eating, or I felt like crap. And then I had some emotional eating problems as well. So it was either one or the other. Um, and I thought that if I just kept dieting, that was just the answer. And it scared me to think about eating more food more often.
Hmm.
And the reason being is because I thought like anytime that I got off a diet at all, period, I would just gain it back and then some. But I just didn't know how the process worked. Right. And later on in my life, I found out that dieting is not a lifestyle. There's a lot of negative repercussions to it, which I'm currently dealing with now. And Toby's fully aware of it because he helps me with a lot of it. But dude, I like from the chronic dieting, like even if I had 6-pack abs and all that stuff, like I still struggle with body dysmorphia. I still struggle with relationship with food issues, but I also struggled with that led to a lot of hormonal issues. I'm on HRT. I'm fully transparent about this. I'm on HRT because I dieted so much. I did so much extreme dieting tactics. And then most of my life, I really struggled with sleep. I didn't take care of myself. I drank a lot in high school and college. I ate like a trash panda sometimes. Like that chronic dieting over a period of time led to my body being like, you know what, fuck you. Like, we're just
Yep.
not going to work anymore. Like, especially towards the end of my weightlifting career where I got super thin, so thin that my hair started falling out. I had zero libido. I didn't have a period for about like 3 or 4 years. Like it was a very long period of time. And even before then, I was on birth control, which for those of you that don't know, like being on birth control is not actually having a period, is actually artificial period. So you don't really know your hormonal health when you're on birth control because it's artificial. So I was on birth control majority of my life. I bet you $10 I probably struggled with hormonal issues majority of my life. And so that compounded over a period of time where my thyroid no longer wants to work very well. I also have to take progesterone. I take DHEA, which does help keep my testosterone levels higher. I'm very fortunate with that because DHEA is technically a supplement rather than HRT, but it does help. And like I'm always getting blood work with my doctor and things like that. And it's also led to a lot of gut health issues as well, especially when I am stressed. It just flares up and I just look pregnant. And it's just the consequences of my actions for just treating dieting like a lifestyle. I don't think people realize that when you're just under eating for that long period of time, not only is it just calories in versus calories out, but like you're keeping key nutrients away from your body and fuel from your body to properly function. You do it long enough, your body's going to start down regulating and start hating you. And that's why a lot of people are developing hormonal issues as they get older. And they're like, I now have IBS. And it's like, maybe, or maybe you've just been under eating for that long that your body is just conserving energy and your digestive system, your hormonal health, like they're not essential to survival. And so your body stops functioning in the way because you're very, very low calories, which can lead to a lot of hormonal issues and gut issues, which is very, very hard for you to get out of that hole the longer that you've been in. So I didn't realize until later that in order for me to get the physique that I wanted, but also the health that I wanted to, and the relationship with food and my body that I wanted to, is that I actually needed to spend more time in maintenance calories. For those of you that don't know what maintenance calories is, it's the amount of calories going in is equal to the amount of calories going out. So you're not trying to change the weight. You're just eating enough to support your daily activity and your health. Okay. I need to eat more in maintenance calories majority of the time and very, very little time in a calorie deficit. So I needed to shift my perspective. And it wasn't until then that really things start clicking. Like I actually started building muscle tissue because you can't build muscle tissue when you're in a calorie deficit. If anything, if you do it incorrectly or too long, you could actually lose a lot of muscle tissue, which slows down your metabolism and it doesn't allow you to get that lean look that you're looking for. Like you start weighing less, but it's just kind of like your physique doesn't really change in a positive direction that you're looking for. You're just like, I'm shrinking, but like I don't see the definition that I'm looking for. And it's just like a lot of negative repercussions that just keeps you going down the hole. So I need to start eating more in maintenance calories, spending very little period of time in a calorie deficit. If I am, I need to be strategic, need to get in and out as fast as possible, and I need to follow that calorie deficit with a reverse dieting. So that way, the hard work that I work super hard for stayed there, but I'm not going to stay in a calorie deficit for a very long period of time. I'm going to build back up to my new maintenance. So that way I can be healthy again and go back to building muscle tissue or just maintaining the muscle tissue that I've already created. And you can even spend time in a slight calorie surplus. I spent time in a slight calorie surplus too to build up muscle tissue. But I mean, I've been lifting majority of my life. I've got a lot of muscle tissue. I'm stronger than most women out there. So now I'm just kind of trying to maintain my muscle mass right now. And just trying to get healthier and things like that. I haven't been in a calorie deficit. Toby, do you remember the last time I was in a calorie deficit? Over a year ago, I think. And it was very short lived. I think it was 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
Yeah. But that was a big mistake. Again, it's just like I thought dieting was a lifestyle. I just chronically dieted, and it led to a lot of physical and mental harm to my body. And now I had to deal with those consequences. Now I've been eating more food. I'm treating food like fuel and medicine rather than it's just calories in versus calories out. I just need to chronically be under eating. It doesn't work that way. So like I eat anywhere from like 23 to 2,500 calories every single day, about 150 to 160 grams of protein. And that's what I eat daily, right? Like that's just AKA living now. And I'm a lot healthier physically and mentally. I just feel more fit. I feel more happy. Right. And yes, I'll go in we talked about this. I'll probably go into like a calorie deficit after my half marathon in October. But again, it'll be very strategic, in and out, maybe 8 to 14-ish weeks, just depending on how long we want to be in there. But it's not going to be long at all. It's going to be short, effective, quick, but I don't want to be staying there too long because we know what happens when I am. So that I've done that before and it's not fun. So that was another big mistake that I made. I'm drinking a smoothie if you're listening right now.
I think another thing that is worth mentioning that I did was like focusing on how I am perceived by others rather than putting all my money into or trusting in what's actually working, right? So when we're working out, we know that we're supposed to work out, lift weights, strength train to build muscle mass. But we also like to impress others, or some of us do. So then what we will do is we will prioritize weight over form, over full range of motion.
Oh, yeah.
And I am now thinking that I'm doing all of these things that I'm really good. I feel like I crush it, and I feel like I deserve all the wins, right? But because I focused on the wrong thing, I am now getting less than I'm supposed to be getting, right? Like, think about it. How many people, if you're listening, how many people do you know that have been going to the gym for so long and they don't look anywhere near as if they were going for the amount of time that they do, right? We see it in CrossFit gyms all the time. How many people do you know that have joined the gym, or when you joined the gym, that are saying like, oh, I've been doing this for like 7 years. And if you were to meet them on the street, you'd never guess.
No.
You'd never guess. And I understand that like appearance is not indicative of performance, but most of us also don't do that on a professional level, right? Like I don't go to the gym to become a full-time bodybuilder. I don't join a CrossFit gym with a goal to make it to the games. Like, and if you do, you need to have a reality check with yourself, because again, setting unrealistic goals, right? You probably don't know what it takes to get there. But how many people are, you can't even tell what they're doing, right? It's because it's a logical fallacy that we are assuming that other people care so much more about me than they actually do, right? And we do this everywhere else too, right? I go to Costco, I get the hot dog, and I take a bite, and a little drip of mustard falls on my shirt, and now I'm so embarrassed because everyone is going to look at me and judge me. Like, I guarantee you the amount of people that like look at you, notice, and then still remember that they saw this one person with a mustard stain on the shirt when they get to their car is, we can probably count on one hand.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing with training, right? Where it's like, I'm a dude, I am in my mid 30s and I'm single, so I need to impress the all the ladies in there, and they will think less of me if I'm having only one plate on the squat rack,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you make that look technically flawless, that is much more impressive than putting 4 plates on each side and
Looking like a pooping dog.
you do like a shrimp squat, right?
Shrimp squat. I like that one.
Where it's like we're having like a third of a rep and those kind. It's just, we put too much priority on the things that don't give us the results that we want.
Yeah.
Right? It's in business, there's this rule, and I talk about that all the time. It's called Price's Law. What Dr. Price found in business is that the square root of employees will lead to majority of the company's growth. Right? So if you have 100 employees, 10 of those probably do bulk of the work. Right? I'm not saying the other 90 don't do anything, so don't go around and if you own a business and fire the other people.
Yeah.
It's like they probably do something, right? But they do just enough, right? And it's the same thing with all the things that you do in a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? You think you have to do all of these things to get to your goals, right? And if you just do a square root of all of those things, but you try to do them really, really well, promise you you're going to get much further.
Yeah, 100%. Like I like we both coach classes and
Mm-hmm.
have personal training clients, and I'm sure that you say this too. But I am more impressed with somebody who maybe lifts a little bit lighter weight than, let's say, somebody else, but they move just well. Like it's just pretty, right? They just got great technique. They got great form. They put their ego in the back pocket. Like you just respect that. And yet people are like, I'm just going to go heavy. And I'm like, dude, go lighter. And they're like, no, I'm good. And it just looks like crap. And I'm like, right. Like it's just better for you. You're going to get better results. You're going to be in it for a long period of time. Like it's just, yeah, 100%. I want to build off of the ego thing too. Here's another big mistake that I made is shortly after, yeah, it was after I lost weight in order to make a weight class. And it was a weight class I had no business being in. I was just too thin. Very, very tiny. Yes, I had six-pack abs, but I was just like horrible. I was just too thin for my body. And so what I needed to do was reverse diet because I just got done dieting a bunch. I needed to get my food take up because like my hair was falling out, my hormonal health was crap, I was moody, irritable, I couldn't sleep. All the red flags of hormonal issues. Your body is just really, really stressed out and you need to just start eating more. And this is at the time I was a coach at this time. I was coaching other weightlifters as well. And I was like, okay, I know I need a reverse diet. This is what I would have my own clients do. I push myself too hard. Sometimes you got to fuck around and find out. We found out it did not work out well. And so my ego came out and I was like, I'm a nutrition coach. I should be able to do this on my own, on reverse dieting. I can do this. And there are some people that can. I'm not saying that that's not necessarily a bad thing, but again, with me and my history, and I'm just an emotional thinker. I am. I'm an emotional human being. Toby multiple times we've jumped on calls being like, I'm thinking of this, or I'm feeling this. Is this reality, or am I creating this whole weird narrative in my mind? Like, I need to talk through these kinds of things. I'm just that type of person. And my ego got in the way, and I tried to do a reverse dieting process on my own. And reverse dieting for a lot of people can be quite challenging. Very, very challenging. Not just on the physical side of things. I don't think it's not necessarily very challenging on the physical
No.
side of things. You slowly increase your calories over a period of time. The big thing is that you just need to put your head down, be consistent, and not let your emotions dictate your actions.
Yes. I like to tell my clients when we're going through this, where it's like, if we reach the end of our fat loss phase, it's like we are not done
Yes.
with our diet. It's because the common consensus, and we see this on the internet sometimes with people that just got done with their diet and they're just now lavishing that burger and all of those things, and I now am allowed to eat all the foods that I wasn't supposed to be eating prior. And then we just go off the wall, right? I try to tell them, hey, the only thing that changes at this point is quantity.
Yes.
Not quality, not what kinds of foods we're eating. We're doing the same thing, just more.
Yes.
Until those cravings naturally disappear, and now we're allowing ourselves to have a little bit more of a sweet treat than we did before.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So it's not going through or coming out of a deficit strategically with a goal and with a plan is so detrimental, right? And a lot of people lose what they've worked for because of it.
Yeah.
And that's then where, well, I saw great success when I decreased my calories, and I saw great damage when I increased my calories. So naturally, the thing that I have to do is decrease my calories at all times.
Jump back into that same diet again.
Right?
Yeah. And for those of you that are listening, if you don't know what reverse dieting is, one, let's fix that. It's so important. It's a non-negotiable part of the process. Two, getting leaner and maintaining it over a period of time without the cost of your health. Okay. We did a whole podcast episode walking you through what it is, how to do it, showing you like some of our clients' success as well. But yeah, like going back to what I was talking about before, I knew that I had to go to a reverse dieting process. I knew logically that was the answer to me getting out of a calorie deficit without gaining a ton of weight. But again, I'm an emotional thinker, and I know a lot of people are, especially when it comes to nutrition and fitness, because we all eat every day. And a lot of us have very emotional memories or links to nutrition, specifically, and some for fitness, in which we create extreme opinions on it based off of those experiences. Okay. And those opinions aren't always educated, which can lead to very emotional thinking with our nutrition and fitness. And a lot of times shit can hit the fan. A lot of times we're making decisions off of emotions that aren't reality and can cost us months of progress simply just because of how we feel in a moment. And that's what I felt like. That's what I made. That was my mistake, is that I knew I was an emotional thinker, but I let my ego get in the way and I tried to do it on my own. I should have had a coach in my corner, even though I knew what to do. That doesn't take away from the fact that I still need support. I still need that accountability. I still need to be able to sit down and talk through things. And I still need to have somebody in my corner to talk me off the ledge when I'm about to dive head on deep into something that I don't have business being in. And that whole emotional ride, it was very, very challenging, because the idea of eating more, because I got so thin. Anybody that gets really, really thin, even if you started gaining weight, and it was good weight, or you're still looking great, even if you're gaining weight, it still is a mental fuckery. Mm-hmm. It fucks with your mind, and it just fucked with my mind, even though I knew logically it was something that I needed to do. And the weight that I was gaining was more than likely muscle mass or things like that. I threw a mental fit, And a lot of times I just completely derailed. I'd either go back to the calorie deficit because it scared me, or I'd overeat, or it's just like this back and forth, back and forth. And over a course of a couple months, because I just did it horribly, partly. And the other part was just because my body was just so pissed off from the chronic dieting. I gained 30 pounds. Now I needed to gain weight because, again, like I was saying before, I got really, really small and I lost a lot of muscle mass. I definitely needed to gain weight because I was very, very, very lean, like too lean. But that amount of weight, I did not need to be gaining that much amount of weight in that shorter period of time. And it was just because, like, again, my ego got in the way. I said, I can do this on my own. Thinking like, hey, I know what to do. But the biggest problem with what people struggle with isn't necessarily knowing what to do. It is doing it.
Yes.
That's the big problem. And so if I could go over again, I would have been like, I don't give a shit if I know what to do. I'm not too good for coaching. Like, everybody needs a coach. Even coaches need a coach. So I'm going to go hire a coach, make sure I do this correctly. So that way my emotional ass doesn't completely derail the whole process. So if I like, that was a big mistake that I wish I could go back. Again, it was a really good learning opportunity. I coach a lot of girls through reverse dieting. And a majority of my coaching is the emotional side of things. Because, of course, I explain why we do this so they understand why and the benefits and the expectations. But even then, the amount of mental fuckery that comes with it is a lot. And that's what a majority of the time coach people through, is talking them off the ledge, preventing self-sabotage. I think that in itself, especially when if you're an emotional person and you know that you have a poor relationship with food, or you're relearning things, I would definitely get somebody in your corner, because you are going to be your worst enemy if you're an emotional thinker like me. So
yeah, what can we say? True.
that's why now I have you coach me all the time, because you're more of a logical thinker. You are definitely more of a logical thinker.
Not always. And again, right, both sides have their ups and downs. Where emotional thinkers can sometimes let their emotions get in the way. In situations where it's a good thing, they benefit from that.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing with logical thinkers. We try to apply too much logic to everything, and eventually it's not a good thing. Right?
There's a double-edged sword to everything that you do.
I think there are like a couple little things, like looking back now, where it's like, hey, we should have focused on recovery, right? More isn't always more. If I recover and make that thing better, right? If I can recover properly from a training session, I'll get more out of it instead of trying to do the next training session. But I don't think that's an 85%er, right? Where it's like, I mean, sport specific recovery. If we're talking just sleep, right? Under prioritizing some of those big movers, especially in a calorie deficit. I like to tell people all the time, it's like, hey, calories is going to be your biggest weapon, but your second biggest weapon is your sleep, not your movement.
Yeah.
That's where things regulate. That's where your body heals. That's where your workout is made, right? Everybody likes to work out hard because that shit's fun. But I think Matt Fraser went on a podcast. For all of my not sports obsessed listeners, Matt Fraser is probably the best CrossFitter to ever take in the professional CrossFit stage. And I think he actually said sleep is so powerful that if it was to be tested for, it would be an illegal substance.
Yes. Yeah. It's like the magic pill that everybody wants. It's like, if you want to get healthier, sleep. If you want to build more muscle, sleep. If you want to be leaner, sleep. If you want to think better, sleep. Like the mental health, sleep. Like it's the magic pill. Anti-aging, sleep. Like
sleep.
It's just, sleep is so great.
Now, I'm not saying go take naps and sleep for 14 hours every day, right? Like
Coach told me to sleep, so fuck my job. I'm just sleeping all the time.
yes, that's what I need. No more workout, sleep, right? It's like, no, there needs to be harmony within the things, right? But like, I don't care who, we know this from research. The amount of people that will be able to sleep less than 6 hours and physiologically not see a decline, right? If we're taking that number and we are rounding it to the nearest number of 10, and then we express it as a percentage of all people, is zero.
Zero.
Zero. There is not a single human being out there that will not have physiological impact from undersleeping. And I know there's a lot of people out there like, I'm fine on 4 hours of sleep. It's no, you're not. Your body has just adapted, and your body found that this is the new normal now.
Yeah.
That you just don't know how good you could feel.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you don't feel like shit doesn't mean that this is
like
as genetically optimized as you can be.
Yeah. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, what do you have to compare it to? If you feel like shit all the time, that's going to start feeling good to you because that's all you can compare it to.
Yes. In college,
right?
I worked at the overnight dispatch office, right? Like talking to police officers, firefighters, all those kind of things. And I thought I was fine. I was like, I handled this really well, you know, playing 2 collegiate sports, having 2 majors, plus having very high academic goals because of the things that I wanted to do in the future and that I luckily get to do now, but also having to work a job to kind of like get gas in my vehicle and those kind of things, right?
Pay for food.
I was like, I'm fine. 4.5 hours will be good. Whereas now, man, that 9:30 p.m., like that number, it ticks. And you can see me like going out. I'm just like sinking down in my chair, and my wife's like, "Oh, must be getting close to 9:30."
Yeah.
It's just something that I'm not negotiating on, right?
Yeah.
Anymore, because we realize it's like, man, how wrong was I to think? How arrogant, you know? Oh, I'm fine. It's like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
Like, who are you kidding? And like, and if you trying, and sometimes it's a necessity, right? I don't want to say that there's never a time and place for you to get up earlier so that you can do a certain thing. If you're in a time of your life where the only time where you get to go work out is in the morning, and you're going from 7 hours to 6, is that optimal? No. But will you die? Also no. Right? If your goal does need some strength training, you will have to make that sacrifice. Right? But now when we're looking at how can I, now that I have included a workout regimen, how can I maximize and get 6 hours and 15 minutes of sleep? 6.5 hours, right? Now that I've made that, I set that stage. I mean that more in a way of, if you deliberately get less sleep because you think you have to finish your Netflix show, because you have to play that one round of Fortnite, if people still play Fortnite, I don't know. If you simply feel like telling your friends that you're out with that it's getting close to bedtime and you're afraid that they make fun of you, like if you deliberately stay up late and get up early because of those things, like you don't get to complain that you don't make results.
Yeah.
I've been there, I've done that, and seeing the other side of it now is, I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. I think I want to add on to what you're talking about before, where it's like these things like sleep, like these really simple things
That's
that a
not
lot of
cool.
times we overlook. They're not super sexy, but the cool kids do it, right?
Look at all the people that have what you want.
They more than likely sleep a lot. They prioritize their sleep. They don't fall under peer pressure. They don't do all these things. But going into that, I think one of my big mistakes was undervaluing those things.
Oh,
big time. Like the drinking water, sleeping, recovering, all these different things. I think that especially early on, I thought that because I felt like everything was so hard for me and I was struggling so much and I was so emotional about things and I really hated my body because of all these feelings that I was feeling, and I felt like I was doing all the quote unquote right things but nothing was happening to me. Because of that, I thought that the solution had to be overcomplicated or super sexy. When in actuality, I was working hard and I was putting a lot of different intentions. Like, for you to lose a lot of weight in a very short period of time, you have to put a lot of hard work into it, right? But it's not necessarily about how hard you're working or how much you want it. It is, are you working on the right things for you? Are you working smarter, not harder? And when you learn how to work on the right things, the right strings to pull, a very common analogy that we use a lot is whenever we're talking to our clients, we're like, hey, we're going to teach you how to triage things. What are the big rocks or the $1,000 bill, the $500 bills, the $100 bills, the 50, the tens, the fives, the dimes? Like, each thing has its own value. But a lot of times those people that, like for me specifically, I felt like I was doing all this hard work. I was spending all this time and all this money on things that were supposed to get me the results and keep it. But I was grabbing at the wrong dollar bills. I was grabbing at the fives. I was grabbing at the ones. I was grabbing at the tens rather than the $1,000 bills and the $500 bills. If I spent my time and effort on the 1,000 and 500, I would accumulate more with the same amount of effort and the same amount of time, but I'd see the dial move in the direction that felt like it was aligned with my effort and my time. So again, working more and putting more intention and all that stuff doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually working. It just means that you're working more. And so again, like all those sexy things tend to be the dollar bills, the $5 bills, the $20 bills, the $50 bills. So I was grabbing at all these sexy things, right? Like this new template that could never, like, it was not sustainable for me, or the supplements, or this Jenny Craig bar that my mom had in her fridge and got so mad at me for stealing when I was younger. All these different things. I was putting so much time and effort into these things when in reality, like the $1,000 bills is like, let's change your character. The $500 bill is like sleep, following a progressive overload and just being consistent at it. Learning how to like not snack so much and not emotionally eat so much. All these different things were the big dollar bills, but I kept skipping over them because either it seemed too simple or something that I wanted to avoid. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to deal with it. And so I undervalued a lot of things that I needed to be focusing more on, right? Like more food quality, less if it fits your macros, more sleep and managing my stress rather than trying to get after every single supplement thinking that it was going to fix me, right? Like, it's just, again, we feel these strong emotions. We have these strong opinions. And because we feel these strong emotions and opinions, we feel like the solution to that is something super complicated or super sexy. In reality, the solution to a lot of people's problems is taking a step back and making sure that you're grabbing at the $1,000 bills, the $500 bills, the $200 bills, and then leave the $5, the five, the tens. Like, don't get me wrong, they still have value, but make sure that you're grabbing the big dollar bills first. That's so much more important. So a lot of times, honestly, the answers to the problems that you have are the boring ones. Like, you got to be willing to do the boring work. You have to, if you want to be able to do it. You've got to be able to sleep. You got to be able to manage your stress. You got to stop eating like a trash panda on the weekends. Like, you got to go to sleep on time and say no to your friends for another beer or something like that. The boring work is what adds up and matters most in the long run.
Right. So if there's one thing that sums this up beautifully, I think it's one of my favorite quotes. I'm not entirely sure who said it, but it's the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Ooh, I love that one.
Because those boring things we undervalue, so we just avoid paying attention to them or avoid paying as much attention to them as we should. right? But that's where the magic happens, right? We say it all the time. The magic happens in maintenance, but I'm avoiding being in maintenance because I don't want, I'm dreading the idea to maintain the weight that I have right now,
Mhm.
right? I avoid going to bed early because I feel like I have so many things to do, right? I avoid having to drink my water because it's so boring, I forget, right? I just don't, or it doesn't taste good, or it's not exciting, or whatever it is. I avoid eating a whole foods based diet because the change that I have to make to apply that is uncomfortable, right?
Right?
But
Like
that's,
it's gonna cost me a couple weekends of figuring it out.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that's where the magic happens,
Mhm.
right? The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Yeah. Another one is like nobody's too good for the basics. Nobody's
Huh?
ever too good for the basics. If you're not good at the basics right now, like don't I have to say this, don't be complaining about the results you're not getting. Like
I
you've got to
mean,
master the
you've
basics first.
been on a relatively high Olympic weightlifting stage, right?
Hmm.
So, how much empty barbell work do the Olympians do?
Oh, so much. I think there's times it depends on the coach's philosophy, but there's some coaches that honestly they just have training sessions with just the barbell
Yep, it's because they're not, even though they're the best in the world to do what they do the basics.
all the time.
Olympic sprinters, how much technique work? If you just go to YouTube and you try to find that,
Hmm.
they do so much technique work,
Yeah,
right? Olympic weightlifters, so much technique work.
yeah,
Like the people who are the best at their craft spend a lot of time mastering that craft.
100%. Right. Again, like look at a healthy and fit person and look at what they're doing.
Hmm.
They don't overcomplicate things.
No.
They keep it really simple. They manage their stress. They go to sleep. They don't follow peer pressures. They work out consistently in the time that they have. They drink their water. They eat pretty good, right? They don't diet a lot, right? They live their best life, basically,
Yes, but
right?
what they do the common thing uncommonly well,
Yes,
right?
there you go. I like that. I
Yeah,
like that a lot.
it's. I mean, there's so many like euphemisms,
Yeah.
right? It's like somebody told me, whatever your life's work is, do it well. Like I think it was Martin Luther King who said, like a man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could not do it better,
Oh, I like that one.
right? So it's like just, and I'm not saying you should obsess,
No.
right? It's like you leave that to me because I obsess over everything that I do. But that's why I'm also above average at most things I do. You
Hmm.
know, it's because once I find one thing, it's like everything else becomes unimportant, right?
It's that ADHD
It's
classic
like
coming in.
everything else becomes not important,
Hmm.
right? I lost at a board game. So I downloaded the board game on my phone and I no longer was watching TV. I was no longer like browsing on Instagram. It's like, hell no, we play this board game until I am so good that next time we play, I win.
That is your personality. Fuck yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yes, right. But it's the same thing applies to food. I see a
Hmm.
super busy person that has what I want, right? And it's like, what do they do? What do they do that I don't do,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, oh, they're eating very simplistically. Oh, they're prioritizing their sleep. Oh, they're making it a priority to get out and get some steps, get some sunlight, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
whatever
they're
it.
making more educated decisions rather than emotional decisions.
Yes, they
Yeah.
schedule out the things because they're successful CEOs and they wouldn't miss a work meeting.
Yeah.
So they're scheduling meetings with themselves that they also wouldn't miss,
Yeah.
right? It's like, and I'm just listing off some.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that a lot of people, I think majority of the people, I very rarely ever run into somebody who is actually fit, um, and has never gotten coaching before.
Hmm.
It's very, very far and few between.
How do you know what you don't know?
Yeah, exactly. And so,
I don't write my own workouts.
yeah, I don't, yeah, Calvin writes my own workouts, or you write my workouts. I always have somebody write my workouts, but I also get coaching when I want to get off of cruise control and get another goal. And I think that is something that's really, really important to remember, is that this shit takes time. It can be very emotional for a lot of people. A lot of people are extremely uneducated, but have very, very opinionated views on nutrition and fitness that is sabotaging their success. And for a lot of people,
do you think it's because of, I don't want to say fear, but let's just use that word because it fits.
Like fear-based thinking?
It's out of fear, like that they're so opinionated, right? It's like, I do this thing, but I'm so opinionated that I will tell you what you're doing is wrong because I am so afraid that the thing that you're doing that is so different from what I am doing will yield better results than what I am doing.
I think so. I think it is about, okay, this is my honest opinion. I think it is because of the trend of marketing that we see online. That's why people have such extreme stances on nutrition and fitness. And the reason being is because I think that you're right. A lot of it is fear-based thinking. And part of it is because we have such emotional ties with our body and food. And a lot of times we tie our value off of how we look. If we don't look a certain way, therefore I have less value. So we become very fearful of how we're thinking.
Again, okay? Spotlight effect, right?
Yeah. And then also some people have experiences with maybe like parents picking on them or kids picking on them too. So it's a lot of that. Okay. But also when you look at marketing, fear-based marketing lands so much better than, let's say, hey, let's add value to your life. Let's educate you a little bit more versus like cancer. This has cancer. Or if you do this, you're going to have a flat ass. Or if you do this, you're going to get fatter. It's like
seed oils.
Seed oils are going to kill you. Like that shit. Like our listeners right now, everybody on social media, y'all eat that shit up. You will just eat that shit up and it just feeds into the fear-based thinking. And then also it gets into just online when you have more of an extreme stance in terms of marketing or branding. When you have more of extreme stance. So you see all these extremists. Like what's that one girl that has the stupid glasses that's like, carbs are bad, it's gonna kill you, like protein bars are tomfoolery and you're gonna die from eating and it's just extreme
all the
fear
carbs
mongering.
You need, your body can make carbs from eating a steak.
Or that one dude that's like, oats are bad, they're gonna kill you. It's just like, Jesus Christ, like these extreme stances of like keto's the best, anything else is stupid, or if it fits your macros is the best, or if you don't track your macros you're gonna get fat, or just all these extreme stances. The more extreme that you create, the more that people are going to band behind you and create this really tight knit community based off of those extreme views. And that's why a lot of people treat how they eat or fitness or their fitness like a religion or politics. It like turns into something that you just don't bring up, or it's part of their extreme identity. Like I do keto. I'm a keto person. That's me. And then somebody's like, I'm vegan. And they're like, I fucking hate vegan. And vegan's like, I fucking hate keto. And it just becomes.
You should not be doing this. You should be doing.
Yeah.
And I love everyone who has values. I think that's cool. Like if you truly believe in something and you're super passionate about it, I want you to be so passionate about it that you speak out about it, right? But don't just tell people that they're doing something wrong. Don't just tell them that your idea is better than theirs, right? Like if you truly believe that seed oils are bad, like I applaud you for taking a stance, because a lot of people don't, right? So being passionate about it is great, but don't just tell people that they're bad.
Yeah.
You need to know, like you have to have a claim to back up your opinion, because
you have
otherwise
to be informed. You can't just
otherwise
say
you're just being
like
spoon-fed.
I watched this documentary on Netflix, so this must be true. Or this guy said something really loud on social media and has a microphone and stands on the stage, so it must be true. It's like, if you're going to believe in something, be informed.
Yes, you have to know why do they say, what is the context behind it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can also not be too proud to realize that you're not right.
Yeah. And another thing is that just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else. I think that's another important thing is like you can believe in what you do. You can love it, but it's just like religion in my personal opinion is I absolutely love it when somebody believes in something wholeheartedly and loves it so much and it adds value to their life. But as soon as they start preaching to me and saying that I have to believe in the same thing and starts pushing that shit on me,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I get turned off. I want to learn about things. I want to learn why they love those things. I want to learn the principles behind it. But I don't want you to make me feel like if I don't do it, I'm a horrible person,
Right.
right? It works for them. Allow me the same respect of finding what works best for me as well. It's the same thing there, which I'll honestly wholeheartedly admit to this, especially at the beginning of my fitness and nutrition experience. I had some extreme stances just
Mm-hmm.
because, again, the emotional relationship with things, I had extreme stances. Like, I thought keto was horrible for everybody. I thought that macro counting was the best out of all of them, right? Like everybody had to macro count, and that was the only thing that people could do. I thought that, like, I used to be on a stance of extreme through my hormonal health journey. I really got into like hormonal disruptors, things like that, learning like more cleaner products and things. I like went on the whole standpoint of like going up to people being like, you need to stop using scented candles because it's going to kill you. And I didn't go that extreme, but it was kind of like that. I didn't go that extreme, but it's just like stuff like that. I was really big in paleo and I used to be like, hey, like don't drink milk. It's not good for you.
Mm.
And as I get older, I'm starting to realize how dumb I was when I was in my early 20s. We live and we learn. It's fine. But again, I found out what works best for me. Me drinking dairy or eating dairy does not go well because my stomach does not feel great. But there are some people that can totally do it, and that's perfectly fine. So it's like I think sign of maturity going through our journey is realizing that there's no one right way to do things. There's no one that's better than the other in a lot of areas. The magic happens when you take a step back and figure out what works best for you and just applaud other people that are doing the same. But don't push your what works best for you onto other people. Allow them the same respect that you had of doing some trial and error to figure out what works best for you. I think that's the best thing right there, rather than shoving your opinions on other people like I did when I was younger. So, but of course, like we said before, we could probably film like a 3 hour plus podcast on all the mistakes.
Probably.
Yeah,
On
probably.
shit that I did that I wish I didn't.
Yes, we could keep going. But this is we're gonna wrap it up here because it's a little over an hour. But we appreciate you jumping in and listening to how many ways we screwed up. We hope that these helped you in some small way. If you feel like this episode was helpful and you feel like somebody else needed to hear our stories and hopefully avoid the same mistakes that we made, feel free to share it with your friends and your family.
Or if you made it even to this point.
Yeah. Oh, we appreciate you if you made it to this point, by the way. If you're still staying strong, we love
You're
you.
a trooper.
Yes. All of our rants. But our mission here is just to share as much good information out there to help people become the CEO of their health, make more informed decisions, become logically fit, right? And so we're hoping that our stories helps out somebody. So if you can share it on your story, if you can share it with your friends that need to hear this, please, please, please do so. We would appreciate you more than you know. Don't forget to leave us a review as well. And if you have any maybe ideas of topics that you'd like us to talk about, feel free to reach out to us. We have all our contact information in the show notes below. All right. But besides that, I think we're going to wrap it up. I know I have a client call. I know Toby probably has 5 billion too. So we're going to wrap it up. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Until next week.
Peace.